Okay, good to see you back. Now I have been following you in the discussion. Okay, some of the discussion was really nice. Okay, but in two rooms, okay, you seem to be really quiet. Okay, and I need to, okay, I need to see more active participation. Now, first thing first, could you please turn on your webcams for a moment? I just want your webcam on for this whole group discussion, and after that, if you don't like, you can switch up your webcams again. So from time to time, okay, turning on the webcam just for a short moment can make people feel more comfortable. So hello Thảo, I hope it's comfortable there for you now in the okay, separation center. Are you at home or are you at the separation center?
I'm at home.
All
Already
right, good for you.
the quarantine center. Yeah.
Okay, I see. All right. So um, now let's start with room number 5. You are very quiet there. Now Mỹ An, Huệ Hà, and Quỳnh Hoa. Can one of you tell us what you have discussed about these two questions? Yeah, how is it different from traditional learning activities, and what are the pros and cons of using WebQuest? Nào, Mỹ An, Huệ Hà, and Quỳnh Hoa, can some of you report to the whole group, please?
Oh.
Hello?
Hi, teacher. Hi, teacher. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, thank you, Hoa. Yeah, please go on.
Mm, Um, I think WebQuest are activities which the students use the resources to learn about a topic.
Mm-hmm.
And I think using WebQuest encourages creativity of students and promotes group work, and the teacher cannot control the output of learning activity.
Okay. Any other points?
And the advantages of WebQuest are flexibility. About the disadvantages, it creating a WebQuest requires time, upgrading technical skills, and information literacy skills.
Okay.
And sometimes there are some technical problems such as low web connection, and there there are inadequate number of computers in Vietnamese school.
Okay. Good. Thank you very much, Hoa. Now I would like to hear more from another group. Um, yeah, group number 3. Now Hiếu, Trung Hiếu, Thùy Duyên, Xuân Hiền, and Thanh Giang. Could some of you share with us what you have been talking about? Now, hello, people from room 3, Trung Hiếu, Thùy Duyên, Xuân Hiền, and Thanh Giang.
Hello, teacher.
Hello. Yeah,
So
hello
I
Duyên. Yeah.
to share some of the ideas that we have just discussed. So here I have found the differences between the WebQuest learning activity and the traditional learning activities is that in the WebQuest, here we tend to promote the learner autonomy.
Uh-huh.
As we can see that here the teachers already put some resources on the handouts, or she already put some links so that students can go there and then find any information related to the topic that they are going to do. So I think that is some kinds of raising their autonomy. And they're also different in the roles of teacher. So I think that in web quest, it's likely that the role of teacher may, it's not, they are not the censors. What it means that they are just the task giver. Um, in the first, maybe at the beginning of the lesson, they will give instruction to the student how to do the task, and then during the lesson, student will be the one who do all the things. And maybe during the lesson, the teacher is just be a facilitator. Facilitators. It means that if there are any difficulties during the lesson, and they teachers will be the one who help them. Yeah, so that's my ideas.
Okay. Thank you very much, Duyên. Now, could somebody from room number 1, Kiều My, Duy Khang, Thảo Nguyên, and Việt Hồng, could you please add to our discussion, please? Kiều My, Duy Khang, Thảo Nguyên, Việt Hồng, can one of you report what you have been talking about? You have many good points from my following in your audio discussion. Okay, Duy Khang.
Hello, teacher.
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's very clear.
So basically, we have the same idea with other groups. They have discussed. We agree that when using WebQuest, we gonna boost students' creativity, and we might use internet resources. However, when we use the WebQuest, there's might be some technical problems, and it might challenging when we implement it in Vietnamese context, especially in high school or secondary school, when we focus practically in grammatical point. So we still haven't thought about in what way we can put this into use, or we can adapt it in which context or in which environment. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe yeah, I say pedagogy guy. Okay. Now so thank you very much, Khang. Now
Yes.
next room number 2. Okay, Hoài Phương, Anh Thảo, Minh Thảo, Hoàng Tuấn and Kim Cang. Can you add more?
Before we share our ideas, because during our discussion we were really confused between the two terms, WebQuest and task-based learning.
Mm-hmm.
But we can see some similarities, and yeah, we're not sure like how different they are. Yeah, so that is one question for the class to think about. I don't know. Yeah, and we totally agree with the other groups. However, we just I've been thinking really hard to think of like the other ideas, but we'll add some. For I think because we can see some similarity between WebQuest and task-based learning or project-based learning, so we think that because we need like not just one lesson, but maybe more than that. Yeah, maybe even months to do a project or a task or a WebQuest. So we think that the difference between the WebQuest and the traditional learning activity is about the time and the number of lessons that we spend on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also the teachers need to plan the task, the WebQuest very carefully. Yeah. Because as we can see from the example that you sent us, all like the marking criteria are very clear, and also the resources for the student are very clear. That means the teacher have to plan everything ahead, and the teacher have to uh, do the research. Yeah, himself or herself first before giving the task to the class. Yeah, so it means more effort than normal learning activities. Yeah. But for the advantages and disadvantages of this kind of learning activities, we also agree with the other groups. We just add one more point is that we think that this one is suitable for like learners that is at least they should be at least in high school to be able to use like technological devices in class. Yeah, and they need like a decent competency of digital literacy to be able to get access to the website they need. Yeah, while doing the task. Yeah. So that is like about the digital literacy is also a disadvantage. So for example, maybe in the group, if some students are not comfortable with using technology, then they cannot finish the task really well. Something like that. Yeah. And another problem is that some school they're still restricting the use of technology. Yeah, so like in order to do a web class, it is better if students can bring their own device to class. Yeah, because they can like move around and work in group easier. But some school they still restrict that. And if we do the web class in lab, we don't think it is good because like if you are sitting in a lab, you cannot like move around to work in group to interact with your friends because of the space. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Thảo. Yeah, a lot of interesting points. Now, can somebody from the last room number 6, Tấn Tiến, Anh Tuấn, Minh Châu, and Yến Nhi? Yeah. Do you have any points? Yeah, Minh Châu.
Our group would like to add some of the idea about the advantages and disadvantages. For the advantages, it saves time for everybody. Although it consumes more time in a certain perspective, like take time for the teachers to train students how to use technology, specialize in designing a web. But it saves time because we don't need to have face-to-face meetings. Yeah, and we can work online. We can discuss online like this, and it saves time for everybody. The second one is that think about a far future for learners. We can prepare them for future study or future work in an international environment, requiring everyone to be good at technology. Of course, it's promote teamwork. It requires people have very good teamwork skill, because we sometimes work online or study online. And in a bigger picture, a management perspective, it requires the fund from the government or from the DOAT of each city or each school, to invest the money, so that we can have a good infrastructures for students to adapt with the situation by using this kind of study. That's our group ideas. Thank you, teacher.
Okay, thank you very much, Minh Châu. Yeah, very good point. So you add some more points relating to the 21st century skills that that is very important for our discussion here. Now, going back to these two questions, let's just fill up the tables before addressing these questions raised from group number 2 on how WebQuest is different from project-based learning or task-based learning. So as you see from the sample learning activities in the WebQuest, the learning resources primarily come from the internet, while in traditional classroom setting, resources come from, you see, mostly from textbook and library, and there can be issues with the resources, like they are not as updated easily as internet resources, and they are also usually limited in numbers. They do not have much multimedia contents, and well, I think there's a message here. Okay, yeah. One disadvantage is, yeah, okay, I will add it here and go back to that later. Yeah, student get distracted when working online, or learning online, like the situation we are in now, right? You are taking this class with me, but who knows, some of you may have Facebook and other things turn on too, and we will come back to that. Very interesting point later. So yes, it's the primary difference is in the learning resources. Now the next difference, I agree, is the focus on the what we say the levels of learning. Now, why in traditional learning activities we usually focus on mostly on low level thinking of the Bloom taxonomy. Okay. Now at this point, I need to turn your attention to the Bloom taxonomy. Now, so a very quick check. Have you ever heard about the Bloom taxonomy? Yes, okay. Okay, so could you let me know how many levels of thinking are there in the Bloom taxonomy? Now, Bloom taxonomy is very, very important in education for designing learning activities, for developing curriculums, for guiding course outlines and all the important things that you work on in higher education. So we have got 20 responses, yeah. And yeah, good to see that nearly all of you are correct. Yeah. So most of the votes go to the correct answer, which is C, and that's right. So oh, you cover this taxonomy in Dr. 2 class already, so good. Okay, this is just to wrap up. So there are 6 levels in the Bloom taxonomy, and if you go to Dr. Google and search Bloom taxonomy, you will see how important that is. You see we have 13 million results coming back, and tons of videos and illustration images of the Bloom taxonomy, and that shows you how important it is for education. So essentially, Bloom taxonomy is a framework that categorize thinking into 6 levels. We have remembering at the bottom, and then understanding, applying. Now these 3 levels, remembering, understanding, and applying, are called the low level thinking, and then analyzing, evaluating, and creating are called the high level thinking. Now modern education try to focus on these higher level thinking skills, while in traditional education learning activity tend to focus more on the remembering, understanding, and applying. And this is one of the key difference that we can get from the activity. Okay, let me just spoon these up. Okay, now So if we go back to the task, you see now. So what are the skills that the activities focus on? Now, the student need to work in group, and they will evaluate the city's model. Okay, and then they need to provide feedback for improvement. Now that requires a lot of evaluations and analysis. Now, so the task is to build or to create something, okay, and to build a city's model. And of course, you cannot just have students focus on the top 3 levels on Bloom taxonomy in order to evaluate or create. You need to collect information, analyze facts, and compare and contrast. I mean, the low-level thinking skills are still very necessary, but they serve as the foundation, the fundamentals for higher level thinking skill to build upon. And this is what makes you think this is very similar to project-based learning. The student work together, in a group, and they have the task instructions, and they have the resources. Now, yes, we all know that traditional teaching is mostly teacher-centered, and why in project-based learning or in most of the modern approaches to teaching, the idea is to support students, the teacher being a facilitator, being the why in traditional learning the teacher role is I love this idiom, sage on the stage. So the teacher is the wise sage person that tries to transmit pour knowledge into the empty mind of the students. Why in modern teaching approaches, the teacher is more like a guy on the side, and whether you like it or not, you must be this in the digital age, because for whatever topics, the student can just go on to YouTube, Google, and then you see all the things are available in the hands. So your role is more like the facilitator or the content curator. You have to collect resources to students, raise the issue to the students, and then let them explore for themselves. It's like I'm not going to lecture what is WebQuest, what are the strengths and weaknesses of WebQuest, and how do we do WebQuest, because if you go to Dr. Google and search WebQuest, you also get a million results. So instead, we organize discussion, try to encourage you to look at the important learning resources. Now, most importantly, the WebQuest learning activity aim to develop 21st century skills. And with this, I want to bring you back to the UNESCO definition of 4C. Could somebody type into the chat windows the big 4C's in 21st century skills defined by UNESCO. Like, okay, if you want to be successful in 21st century work environment, you must focus on your efforts on developing these skills, and they can be summarized at 4C. Now, you have mentioned about 3C, 2 or 3 C's during the group discussion already. Okay. Wow, great. Thank you, Thùy Duyên, for being the first. No, anh Tuấn, being the first to bring it up for the yes. So, to be successful in the 21st century, we need to focus on communication. And communication here means being able to communicate effectively in both your mother tongue and also in the foreign language, to persuade other people, to listen actively to other people. Now, collaboration is, yes, mostly about teamwork, especially in the service economy. It's very important that you are able to collaborate well, lead well, and form good team with other people, even with people who you do not really like. And the point of getting you into groups and get other people to share ideas and then coordinate the presentations of the group ideas later. They all aim to make you familiar and comfortable, with working in groups. And because students in English language study often do these kinds of activities a lot in school, you see they are very flexible, in the job market. So collaborations. The next C is critical thinking. And yes, critical thinking is essentially high level thinking. You need to be able to analyze information, evaluate information, make judgment, and then decide for yourself. So basically, we are living in the digital age. Every day we are flooded with information from Facebook, from newspapers, online newspapers, and from tweets and sharings. And we should be able to tell whether those sources of information are correct, are trustworthy. Can we believe in a certain information that we get? And we should be careful, not too quick to make judgment. And then creativity. So I have already explained this in the previous classes, right? We are living in an age where everybody now has the opportunity to go to university or colleges. In fact, it's so easy now to get into universities now that almost every teenager now attend universities, as long as his socio-economic backgrounds allow him to do so. And so we are in a new situation where all of the people in the workplace have a university degree. It's not like 2 decades ago, when I was at your age. We struggle very hard in order to get into the university, and graduating from a university means that we are in the somehow in the upper elite, and it ensure job security. At least we will have good jobs, because there were not many university graduates at that time. But now things are totally different. So what makes people different is the ability to think differently, the ability to create new product, new services that do not exist yet. It's not okay. Oh, I have a university degree. Okay, it's no longer your ticket to success. And all right, I quite agree with Thảo that recently, actually, there is okay, another C to add to that for C, and a global citizenship, right? The responsibility to the community, to the environment. So going back, why yeah, I still put a 4C here. Yeah, most important. Why, in WebQuest learning activity, you see there's a lot of focus on those high level thinking skills and 21st century skill like group work, like creativities, like collaborations, and communication in group work, in presentations, and critical thinking, like how can we survive on Mars, what make the difference between a city model on Earth and a city model on Mars. And now the traditional educations, I must say, the goal was mainly prepare young people for the mass production line, mass assembly line. And so about 3 or 4 decades ago, the goal of education was to produce people who are physically good to work in the industries, in the factories. They need to be disciplined, come on time and on time, because on the assembly line it just 1 or 2 persons not doing things properly, then the whole assembly line may have to stop. And you do not need to be creative, you only need to be very good, you need to be an expert in your part in the assembly line. And this, you can imagine that working on the assembly line does not require a lot of interaction with other people, like in our new environment. Okay, so the points of having modern teaching approaches like project-based learning, task-based learning, and WebQuest will be to develop things that I have just highlighted green, all right, especially the 4 C's. Now, taking the Vietnamese classroom into context, I would agree with most of the points you have said here. Not just rework a little bit. If we look at the difficulties of the advantages first, that would be easy, because when we change to something new, most of the teacher will always say, no, this is too hard, it is too much, and we cannot do this, right? And the first disadvantage of doing all of these activities is it time consuming. So instead of saying, okay, everybody, this is a WebQuest, these are the advantages and disadvantages, and then we have to organize discussion, and then other exploration activities. And so of course usually it is time consuming, but it's a meaningful way of spending time. People remember the contents better, and especially the students have chances to develop skills other than just sit passively listening to lecture. And of course there are technical issues, like when you let a student go out onto the internet, then there are questions about internet connectivity, internet for infrastructure, where the computer comes from, and then there will be support maintenance issues too. And in Vietnamese context, we still have mostly big classes, and big class size is usually appropriate for grammar translation method. It is still now the dominant method in the majority of places in Vietnam. And WebQuest is something new, I guess, to many of you here. Actually, the idea of WebQuest was just mentioned, not very long after the introduction of the internet. So we have learned that internet began in 1990s, and then but it didn't pick up until around the end of 1990s, when it became more popular, right? So around the beginning of 2000, schools around the world, especially in developed countries, started to look at the potentials of internet, of allowing students to explore the internet for learning activities. And there come the ideas of WebQuest, of using the internet for teaching, right? So until now, WebQuest only have around 20 years of histories, and it has of course evolved into many other different forms. And there is because it is new, there is a lack of the pedagogy guide, the manual, the instructions, and resources for teachers especially. And yes, some of you have already mentioned the technology divide. Some students may have the advantages because they have better internet connection, they have better devices, and maybe putting students into groups is one way to go around that. And this is the point: students get distracted when learning online, and this is not only the issue that we are facing in online classes like the one we are working on. It's also the issues everywhere. So if you go to any school's meeting now, whenever we have meeting, right, you see some teachers listen to what the head of the school is saying, and at the same time they have their laptops or their smartphones on. I think, to be fair, in a certain way, when we live in this digital age, we need to be able to multitask, because there are just so many things coming to us every day, and we need to somehow develop our ability to do several things at the same time, even though we know that it's not good. And in some of our meetings, some of our important board meetings at Hoa Sen University, we ban completely the use of smartphone and laptops, especially when we have the president of the group to chair the meetings. Then everybody have to silence the smartphone and then put that into a box. There will be a secretary collecting all smartphone, and we are not allowed to turn on laptops. The idea is that we are all important people, right? And everybody's time is valuable, and that's why we need to focus on the meeting. Yes. So getting technology into the classroom is distracting, but think twice about this. Why do the students play games and search Facebooks and do things, other things, while you are teaching in a classroom? Why? Mostly it's because what you are teaching is not interesting to them, right? So okay, on the side of the teacher, we also need to think about, hey, how do I make my teachings more engaging, more interesting to my students, right? And so to a certain extent, to be fair, I think it's not the fault of technology. It's the pedagogy. It's just because the teachers are new to this kind of pedagogy, they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to add color to the learning activities. They don't know how to, get the students engaged. Right? So even if you do not allow your students to use smartphone in traditional classroom, okay, they still try to use smartphones. They still try to use their devices. But if you get them into a project, an interesting project like building a cities on Mars, for example, getting them into groups, and in a small group of 4 or 5, it's very hard for the student to avoid their responsibility to contribute something. Now, when I ask 30 people to listen to me lecturing like this, it's very hard for me to monitor individually. But when you get into a group of 4 or 5, you cannot speak. You cannot. You cannot stay silent. You have to speak something. You have to say something, right? And in order to say something, of course, you need to get inputs from other people. You need to interact with other people, right? And the advantages are all here. I think we have already well discussed. To a certain extent, these advantages equals the benefits of WebQuest learning activities. Up here that I have highlighted in green. So now let's come back to these questions. How is WebQuest different from, let's say, project-based learning? Now, so I agree, WebQuest and project-based learning have some, sharing. Yeah, they both aim to develop 21st century skills for students. They work on project. They work in group, but project-based learning do not necessarily use internet resources. So to a certain extent, project-based learning can be traced back to the ideas of giving student field trip. You take your student to a museum and ask them to write stories or to develop war magazine of the story they have seen in the museum, and that is still a project. Or you ask a student to go out to the local rivers, collect water samples, and then monitor the pollutions in the water and all those things. You see, they do not need the internet for project-based learning. Why with WebQuest, the soul of the learning activity is the internet. It will not work without the internet. And WebQuest try to develop the internet searching skills and then all of the sorts of skills that are required for a digital citizen. While project-based learning does not focus on on the internet skills, right? Task-based learning in language teaching is more about developing language proficiency through a language task. Task-based learning, yes, also have something to share with project-based learning, but I would say task-based learning is usually small in scale, which is task-based learning in individual class hour, and it's not something that can expand throughout several weeks like WebQuest or project-based learning. And similarly, task-based learning does not rely on the internet. Of course, some tasks you can set them up so that students use the internet, but it's the nature of task-based learning is not dependent on internet like WebQuest. All right, so thank you very much. I think we are almost done with all the things about the WebQuest. So now it's time to look at my lecture notes. WebQuest is an inquiry-oriented activity in which some or all the information that students interact with comes from the internet. And the main purpose of WebQuest is to develop high order thinking skills, right? We have already discussed it in details regarding the Bloom taxonomy. Now, good WebQuest is one that promotes high order, high level thinking skill for students, and of course it needs to link to the previous learning activities and also the subsequent learning activities. It should be student centered, promote scaffolding for students, and it needs to be interesting, engaging. Yeah. So these are the 6 components of a WebQuest. I think everybody should be clear about it. So we have the introductions, the task, and then the process in which the steps for completing the projects are given for students, and then resources in the form of internet links, and then evaluation that is always in the form of a rubric. We will have a hands-on activities in which you need to create a rubric like this, and lastly there will be conclusion for summing up all the things that the student have done. Now, before moving on further, we have another big things to cover, a big concept. Now, in the introduction of the WebQuest, we need to prepare the students by giving them, a hook, so giving them something engaging, interesting, like, oh, the Earth is becoming overly crowded, and now we need to solve this global problem. We need to find a new planet in space for humans to colonize and build their homes there, right? So you see, this is a very nice, interesting, good questions, scenario situation. But in the introductions, we also need to give the students the big questions. And now going back to Western, oh, sorry, the screen sharing is lost. Now from time to time, if you lost my screen sharing, please open your microphone, because sometimes I just look at the contents. I do not look at our video conference room, and I do not know whether you are with me or not. So you need to open the microphone and let me know. Okay. Now, Big questions. Yeah. Have you ever heard about? Okay, thank you. Yeah, just sometime my connection is reset. Now, okay. So just give me a very quick yes or no. Now, have you ever heard about essential questions, contents question, unit questions before? Okay, these are the different types of questions that we ask our students. So let me essential questions, unit questions, and content questions. Okay. Now please tell me, have you ever heard about these things before? Essential questions, unit questions, and content questions. Okay, so a lot of people have never heard about this. Now, okay, the Western education system put a lot of emphasis on asking questions, and asking the right questions is very important for learning, and that's why they categorize, or they put questions into different categories, and it's very important to know about these, and we call these three the what do we call them? Curriculum framing questions. Okay. Curriculum framing questions. So we have these three. Okay, since so many people have not heard about this, I want you to give you a new task. Okay, so please Google to learn as much as you can about these question time. Okay, then give me, let's say I give you 5 minutes, and then give me one, only one essential question. What do you like? Okay, so let's do it. So please Google essential question, unit question, content questions, and then give me one essential questions in the chat window. Okay, I have seen quite a few questions popping up in the chat windows. Okay, and some of them are really interesting. So first, we need to look at what make an essential question. Now, so to begin with, an essential question is one that cannot have a fixed answer. So if you ask a question that can have a right or wrong answer, that is not an essential question. Okay. With an essential question, you have different responses from different people, and every time you ask these questions, okay, it may trigger new understanding, new meaning. For example, who is a friend? Yeah, this is a good essential question, because it's not easy, okay, to answer. Okay, this is my when this is okay. It is the person I can trust, okay, and thinking about the other aspect of the question, like in terms of psychology, right? We have a different perspective than thinking about human relationship. Anthropology, we have another answer. Thinking relating back to our own experience, we have a different answer. So an essential questions is if to begin with, it is open-ended. Each time you ask that question, you have new understanding. And so to that extent, I think some questions like what is light? I'm not sure whether this is essential question, because it look like we are looking for a factual simple definition with this kind of questions. Yeah, what lesson can we learn from World War II? This is more like a unique question rather than an essential question. So let me give you an example. My favorite questions, essential question, is this: is human history a history of progress? Okay. Okay. How do conflict produce change? Right? How do conflicts crisis? I don't think it has plural. Yeah, produce change. So, going back to the first question, is human history a history of progress? This is a yes/no question, but it's not easy to answer. Right? To a certain extent, as we move into the 21st century, we enjoy more convenience that the technology brings. We have much better understanding of the world around us, but are we happier than we used to? Not many people are so sure about this. Are we happier in an industrial society, or in a rural society, okay, pre-industrial society like the way we were before. So let me share my personal story. I was born in Nam Định, and I spent my childhood there until 9 years of age, and then I moved to Ho Chi Minh City to live. Now, so during my 9 years in Nam Định, I live in a rural area. There was no electricity there. So during the 1980s, you see, after the war, at the border with China in the north, and with Cambodia in the south, the economy was almost collapsed, and life was very hard for everybody. But I still remember a lot of the beauties and romantic things. For example, there were no electricities during 1980s in my place. No electricity, whatever. So every day, the family would have dinner around 5:30 or 6 p.m. because we need to make use of the sunlight, and save oil lamp. So dinner is always at 5:30 or 6, and then at 7 we gather around the family desk, listening to stories from grandma, with the oil lamp, and of course, every night, I still remember the beauties of the moon, outside, and catching fireflies, and there was a lot of beautiful things to do at that time, and we were safe. I mean, kids could go out of their homes and form groups to play games anytime they want to. At 9 o'clock, nearly all families in the village would go to bed, and then we wake up at 5 in the morning. So it's a very lazy healthy lifestyle, right? But now in the 1990s, when electrification started to come to my place, and that's when I moved to Ho Chi Minh City already, right? And we started to have electricity around the end of 1980s. Now, because of the electric light is brighter, we stay up later. We have radios, we have TV to watch. Not many in the beginning, but we had a few TVs. Now, most people would not go to bed at night as they used to. Now they would go to bed at around 10:30 or 11, right? And then kids would have to stay up later, until 9 or 10 to do school work, because with the electric line, it's very bright, and it allows you to work on school work more comfortably. 10 years later, around 2000, we started to have the internet and access to the internet. And with the internet, people started to chat, to do a lot of things online. And you see now, a lot of people would not go to bed until 12 or even 1 or 2 in the morning. Now, it is good or bad, I do not know, but to be sure, a lot of the romantic things have gone, like watching the bright full moon, playing games with kids in the village, collecting farm produce, and joining festivals after every farm season. So do we like the city life that we currently have, or do we sometimes enjoy the rural life that I have already told earlier? Hard to tell, right? So every time we think about that, okay, it it triggers new information, new understanding, new meanings. And okay, how do conflicts, how do crises like COVID-19 produce trends? You see? So the power shift between China and the United States, for example, may change after this crisis. Right? If we think to World War II, for example, it has a lot to do with these questions. After World War II, the whole world was trained. Okay? All of the colony systems of the West collapsed. Okay? And independent movements broke out everywhere. Okay? And there was massive trends after that. So I think some of you raised the questions about like what lesson can we learn about World War II. That would be a typical what lesson do we learn about World War II? Yeah, that would be a typical unit questions. Okay, so a unit question is an overarching question for a lesson for a unit, while the essential question is the question that covers the whole curriculum, the whole semester. So in a history course, for example, you can ask these questions: how do conflicts produce change? And actually all wars, all the things that we learn in history have to do with these conflicts or these changes, the crisis events. And then content questions are the kinds of questions that require factual, simple answers. For example, when did World War II happen? Okay, so this is a typical content question. All right, so I hope now you have some ideas about essential questions, unit question, content questions. Okay, these all come under curriculum framing questions. Of course, if you need to know more, you need to search. But going back to what we are talking about in WebQuest, the introduction of WebQuest need to communicate the essential question, the big questions, right? And then in the task, we give students clear description of what they need to achieve, what are the things that they need to work on in their activity. In this building cities on Mars, you see the student need to design a plan of a city that work on a new environment. They need to coordinate a lot of things that they know about city planning, about design, about the astrologies, things that they have learned about space, about Mars, and how to support life. That would be a very complicated project in there. In the process, the students have a list of steps that they need to go through. So this is like the guidelines that was already prepared for the students. To a certain extent, this is like kind of flipped classroom. Now, resources, as we have already made clear from the beginning, resources for our WebQuest activities mostly come in the form of the internet link. You cannot let the student lose on the internet. Right? Need to show them what are best for the topic that they are exploring, because with more experience, with training, with expertise, you will be able to give the student these things. And this is also where you play the role of the facilitator, the guide by the side, or the resource curator. And yes, resources can be sources, electronic resources other than the internet too, like audio tapes, face-to-face interactions, email with experts, and search databases. Now, and the evaluation of WebQuest always comes in the forms of a rubric. Okay, we call this a rubric, right? So with this kind of rubric, the student have very clear informations about what they are expected to do, yeah, in terms of graphic design, in terms of the city model, in terms of the group presentation. Okay, and okay, in each of the box here, they also have clear, detailed instruction about how to get it. Well, looks like my screen sharing is dropped. Let me check. Oh yes. I'm recording my meeting, and that's why it may be a little bit shitty. Okay, it's back. Now, are you still with me, everybody? Been quiet for a while and nothing on the screen. Okay, great, thank you. So, yeah, that's it. And then there are the conclusions in which we sum up everything. Now, I think it's now time for us to take a break. After the break, we gonna have a hands-on activity in which you design rubrics using an internet tool, and then we look at your e-learning course. Okay, so it's now 3:21. Let's come back at 3:40. Okay, yeah, enjoy your break.
You are now muted.